Adam Smith, that guy from Tampa Town.
Hello, I'm Nicholas Esposito, the senior from Bowie State High School. A little close to my face, sorry about that. First off, I would just like to say how honored I am to meet you. I've read a lot about your exploits, your history, and I've heard about you for 17 years now.
Be careful that exploits word. Let's just talk about travels.
Now, the question I wanted to ask of you was, as the legalization of marijuana comes up in a lot of these states, what sort of format are you thinking of introducing it on a recreational scale? Something like Colorado, where small businesses are defended and local communities are able to set up their businesses, or something along the lines of what Ohio recently did, but was defeated, where it was restricted to about 10 or so major corporations, not really tied with local communities. I was just wondering, what would you think?
What I think is this, and this is part of the talking tours, is this may disqualify me with a bunch of you right away. I've been around this issue now for a long time. I have shared emails back and forth with Sheldon Adelson, who poured $5 million something into the first campaign against me. I have watched the opioid epidemic destroy America, kill more people under 50 than anything else. And I have now come to the conclusion that the full legalization of marijuana is going to happen in America someday. There's no doubt about that. We all know that. When they fired Ron Zook at the University of Florida, Jeremy Foley said, we should do today what we know we're going to do tomorrow. My belief, and it's one that's, I think will be controversial, is I believe that the full legalization of marijuana should happen today. I spent a lot of time in Colorado. Everything's working just fine out there. Everything's good. The economy's good. The world didn't end. Real estate prices are up. There's jobs. There's taxes. And so I may be the first person to ever think about running for governor or anything in the country that takes that position. But we know it's going to happen. It should happen. The dangerous drugs, all of you, and for all of your family, is at the CVS and Walgreens, and it's called fentanyl, and it's called OxyContin, and it's called Percocet and Xanax and everything else. So I don't know why this marijuana works. I don't know why aloe works. I mean, I'm a political scientist, for God's sake. I'm bad in math and science. But I know it works. So that's my position. Yes, sir.
Bruce Marger.
I'll turn that one down.
Okay. I'm a fellow attorney, estate planning. You made a comment at the very beginning about the 250,000 minimum in the nursing homes, and that right away made me think about, if you are governor, you will have a conflict of interest. We have a medical emergency here in Florida. The doctors are doing testing that they don't need to do because they need to protect themselves. You now have an unlimited amount of exposure, not 250,000, but unlimited. How will you divorce yourself from the money-making side of law?
Well, listen, that's one of the things that I talk to myself all about when I'm thinking about whether you all want to date me. I'm thinking about, do I want to date you? Because the money side is very complicated. I'm walking myself through that right now of what I would have to divest, what I couldn't do. Look, I have been way more fortunate than I ever could have thought about when we were getting run out of Kentucky when I was 14 years old. And I really don't take credit for it because I think 99% of everything that's happened to me has been luck, a right turn, a left turn, being born in America, et cetera, et cetera. But so for me, unlike everybody else, I will have to divorce myself of it. Believe me, the journalists in this room, they will spend every waking moment making sure that I have divorced myself of it. And so when I think about it, because listen, I am the ultimate capitalist. I consider myself a compassionate capitalist, but I am a capitalist through and through. So part of my equation in doing this is what I would have to divest myself of, what I would have to put into trust. I mean, as a planning lawyer, estate planning, you appreciate this. As I got older, I got 4 kids, and most of my new stuff, most of my new money, I put in my kids' names anyway. So a lot of that's already been taken care of for me and for them, and some of my biggest things have been put in their names. But don't get too worried about the medical malpractice claims. Medical malpractice claims in Florida are like this. There's probably not even 50 lawsuits tried a year in Florida. There's maybe not 10 tried. A lot of people want to talk about the crises, but there is no crises. There's just not that many lawsuits made for medical malpractice in Florida. That's just a hard fact. These judges, by the way, I love every one of you. I'd be happy to contribute to the campaign. Very much. Just let me know where the mailing address is to the campaign office. These judges will tell you that they don't see many medical malpractice claims tried to verdict in their courtrooms.
Hi, Joni James. If you run for governor, you will be running on a Democratic Party ticket, a party that has been pretty ineffective for a couple of decades now at actually running statewide candidates or winning legislative races. What do you think you would bring to the ticket that could change that?
I think that what happens at both sides is that they run with gimmicks and stunts, and they really never just tell you what I really think. I think there's a problem. I think the reason Hillary Clinton lost the election was because she ran not to lose instead of running to win. She was in my house 2 times. I know them real well. You all never got to know her. She's funny, she's bright, she's clever. America never got to see that. With me, I am a fighter. I am an unvarnished, charming rogue. And what you see is what you get, for better or for worse. And some people say, you know, Trump can do it, you can do it. I don't take that as a compliment. All I say is this. I say what I think. I don't think like Trump, but I say what I think. And I think what I would give the Democratic Party is a fighting chance, because I'm a fighter, and that's all I've done my entire life. I fought our way out of poverty. I fought our way out of desperation. I built gigantic companies, and I've won. And so, and I hate to lose. So that's what I think would be the difference between me and a lot of politicians. And by the way, I know them all, and I like them all, a lot. Gwen Graham, I call her little sister at Morgan & Morgan. Jack Latmala, you know, I need him in the race. I need somebody heavier than me in this race. I can't be the fat guy, right? So I like them all. I like Phil Levine, my lieutenant governor candidate. So, but I'm just a little bit different than in a lot of respects. Sorry.
Hi, Joanne Latino, recently elected school board member. Thank you so much for giving the nod, a positive nod, to the public school teachers in our county and across our country. I'm interested in knowing, how do you perceive, if you were governor, preventing the education system of a public school from continuing down the slippery slope, especially from what we've seen in the recent bill 7069 that was delivered by our legislators in Tallahassee?
Well, look, one thing about me, as opposed to a lot of these other people, is I don't get mad and get angry at the people who disagree with me. Richard Corcoran is one of my good friends, great friends. We sit on the back porch of my house. He drinks Camus wine. Of course, Republicans drink expensive stuff. And, you know, I have my makers, and we talk. I disagree with this whole deal about charter schools. Charter schools are the way that people want to send their kids to a private school and put them in a green jacket, green shirt, and khaki pants. They think that's going to make them smart. It's not. It's not. Everything that's happened up in Michigan, the results that are in for charter schools, it's a disaster. The test results are terrible. You as a teacher, you know what the number one reason people do good in school? They got parents at home that are doing the homework. It was a nightmare for me. Just, you know, after 5th grade, I couldn't do the math. Thank God my wife was Phi Beta Kappa and she could. But we're draining resources to pump into charter schools who are going to do worse. The teachers aren't certified, by the way. They don't have to be certified. They just have to be, you know, be on the payroll. Rich people own the land. Rich people own the buildings. Rich people own the same schools and own the prisons. Education's going down. Public school teachers, to me, are the greatest heroes in America. When I was in the 4th grade, we had to leave Christ the King because we couldn't pay the tuition in Lexington. I got over to Cassidy Elementary, and I tested for reading, and I tested as a 6th grader at 4th grade level. Most humiliating time you could ever imagine. I had to go behind my little brother into reading. Ms. Brewer told me, we're going to fix this. There was a thing called SRA. You all may be old enough to remember SRA. These colors. And by God, with Ms. Brewer's help, by the time I got out of 6th grade, I was reading with everybody else. I've never forgotten that woman. Later in life, I get an article. I had a teacher named Mrs. Iron, Winter Park High School, public school teacher, speech, debate. I get an article in the paper, in the newspaper article in my mail. I'm like, what is a picture of me? And she says, there's a little note from my 11th grade teacher. And it was a clipping, and she said, "You go, boy." Jones Iron. If I was the governor of the state of Florida, the Florida school teachers, the public school teachers would never have a friend better, before, after, or everything in between. Because what I told you about remembering, I remember. Sir.
Jim Gillespie, you said you're a compassionate capitalist. Wall Street Journal has pointed out that 70% of the people in this country live paycheck to paycheck. They also pointed out that families earning $100,000 generally cannot come up with $1,000 in an emergency. If you were a governor, what would be the first 2 actions you would take to try to even out in the economic condition of the people and improve? What first 2 actions would you take, either as a governor alone or in conjunction with the legislature?
The first action I've already taken, and that is I have registered my political committee to raise the minimum wage. And what I would do as governor is I would move that along in the constitutional amendment. I'm not doing it for 2018, because you know why I didn't want to do it for 2018? I didn't want you all to say he's doing it for a stunt. He's doing it as a gimmick. He's doing this because he's running for governor. I want it to be pure. And I'm going to do it no matter what I do. Because I believe in political, I call it political philanthropy. I believe if I get that constitutional amendment passed, the problems you're talking about go away for a whole bunch of people. If that hunger center over in Orlando, we feed 250,000 people a month. It's the same people you're talking about. They come there in Winn-Dixie uniforms. They come there in gas station uniforms. So I would pressure hard the legislature to do it, not in the form of a constitutional amendment, to look at companies like Target and Aetna, where they are paying their people right. And the second thing that I would do is I would get inside the criminal justice system to draw on money that people pay to defend themselves from crimes that should not be crimes. Is crazy. They get tied up with a drug possession. and all of a sudden there are economic opportunities forever. That boy I was talking about, Zach, the roofer, he should not be in that position. And I believe that the criminal justice system and the restoring of felons' rights is directly tied to economic opportunity. So that'd be 1 and 2. Yep. Oh.
Oh, she got it ready.
Okay. Hi there, my name is Corey Hubbard. I appreciate the compassion that you bring to a lot of the topics you've discussed today, but as a capitalist, you know that jobs are not created out of nowhere. What would you say to the small business owners who would choose, in the event that you mandate a higher cost for their employees? What would you say to, for example, my father who owns a small business who would potentially choose to hire less people? So not only would it be the people you're trying to protect not have a job, they wouldn't just be making less, there'd be less in the market. So how could you speak to the negative implications of a minimum wage rather than just the nice, make everybody feel better and have more money?
Okay, well, first of all, I have a lot of small businesses. I own a chain of attractions. I own hotels. I have a lot of people who would fall into that category, and I would be directly affected. I have people in my law firm. We have 375 lawyers, but we have 2,300 people that work in these law firms. What I would say to that is this. Look, we've tried everything else. In answer to Mr. Gillespie, we've tried everything else to pull people up. But what have we tried? We're getting ready to have a tax cut. I just read this tax cut plan that's coming down the barrel. And they're talking about making the Chapter S companies pay 25%. I'm a Chapter S company. The economic benefit to me is staggering of what I would make if the proposed tax plan passes. Listen, there's always going to be people that say, hey, we're just talking about, listen, business owners are going to hire as many people as they need. If your father owns an ice cream store and he's got 2 scoopers and there's enough people coming in that he needs to hire a 3rd scooper, he's going to hire a 3rd scooper even at $13 an hour. The thing you need to worry about, we all need to worry about, are robots and artificial intelligence. You think these fast food places, these pizza places, are not looking right now to figure out a way to get rid of those people that drive through window? Do you think people aren't trying to figure out how to make a perfect pizza every single time? So my answer to your dad is this. Look, you may not need 5 people. You may have only needed 4 all the time. And you're going to become more efficient. But my answer to the most, because my platform would be, number 1, I am you. I have been there and I know what you feel like. I know what it's like to have your house on the block. I know what it's like to have power cut off. I know what it's like for your phone not to work. I know what it's like to not know what's going to happen next. So I would say to them is this, to your dad, you may be able to get by with 4 instead of 5. This experiment has worked in places like right now in Seattle, and it's working great. That is always the argument, that less people are going to have a job. I'd rather, and by the way, you know what those people, the government money that pours into these people who are underpaid is paid for by you. And the money that you're going to save, that's why I quit making eye contact. All right. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Donna Blazovic from St. Petersburg. You talked about restoring rights to convicted felons who have served their time. And when this is always discussed, they talk about nonviolent felons. Well, even violent felons have served their time and paid their debt to society. So why shouldn't they have all their civil rights restored?
Look, you may be right, but I'm telling you what I believe is politically possible. I don't get, if I got to do everything I want, I mean, it'd be a party. But I don't get to do everything I want. I was with Terry McAuliffe, the governor of Virginia, who is going to run for president, by the way, has a good chance of winning. He's a good friend of mine forever. I was with Terry McAuliffe the day and the night at the governor's mansion in Virginia that he restored felons' rights. He was telling me stories he was telling me stories about this older man who was so embarrassed that he couldn't vote, that he was crying to Terry. He said, what's the worst thing in your life? He said, my children don't get to see me vote. So Terry did what was politically possible. You know, people believe that the word compromise is a dirty word. The reason I say nonviolent is because that is my compromise. That is my compromise of what I think could happen for the most, to do the most for the most. And that's why it's my position. Look, people, I believe people, this whole issue of guns, the gun issue is never going to be resolved. There needs to be a compromise. The real compromise is going to be simple. Listen, I don't understand guns. I don't understand them at all. If you put me with a rifle, you think Elmer Fudd was walking through the, because I'm not a gun guy, but I don't care about guns. The only thing I think to say about guns is this: just don't let crazy people have them. Just real simple. Don't let crazy people have them. I got brothers and brother-in-laws. They got more guns than they can ever. They got guns they never opened up. And so there's issues like that where it's something, but there's nobody ever going to compromise. You got the Second Amendment, which I strongly support. You got people who want to take everybody's guns, and nobody ever wants to compromise. Compromise has somehow seemed to be a dirty word, but I believe on felons' rights we can accomplish a lot for like 98% of them. There's not that many violent felons that have had their act.
Last question.
Okay. Last question.
You choose. If I choose, then give it to me.
I asked the last question.
You have to pick somebody.
Oh, I was going to say, who would you vote for if we got the job?
Yes, sir. Oh, I should ask the top. Can we do two?
If you answer quickly.
I'll answer.
Mine's short. Scott Wagner, St. Petersburg. John, the most important thing: your wife, your sons, and your dogs. What are they advising you about running for governor?
That may be the hardest sell of all. I'm married to a Republican. My kids are Democrats and Republican, and we have a wonderful life. My kid lives next. One of my children lives across from the grandson at the beach. All my beach houses are stacked one by one. They're all there. One time I saw this movie called My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and I was just crying like a baby. I told my wife, if I ever get money, I'm going to have that stuff. And so the hardest thing maybe for them and for me is that we love each other and we love being with each other. And we do talk about that quite a bit. So I may have some selling to do to the most important people in my life. Timekeeper.
I'm keeping her time.
Keep her time, yeah.
I talk fast. My name is Corey Adler. I'm the executive director of the largest poverty reduction program in our state. And one of the hardest people to place is an ex-felon, an ex-offender. So even if we get them out of prison and we end disparity issues, and now they're out of prison, how do we move businesses to actually hire them so they're not living in poverty and receiving government assistance when they really just want to get a job?
It's very hard because people, it's always good for somebody else to do good. It's hard for you to do good. I have done that. I have hired many felons in my businesses because I do not believe that I can ever be forgiven unless I forgive myself. And I don't believe I can just talk about it. I got to do it. One of the reasons I gave all this money to Joel Hunter has this mega church called the Northland Church over in Orlando area. He's the most dynamic speaker you'll ever have. He left the church and he started this coalition for the homeless. And I seeded it with $1 million. Part of what he's talking about doing is to build this faith-based network where someone who is homeless, who has anything, that someone inside of that faith-based network will say, you know what, I will give you a chance. I will give you a start. I will fix your car. I will get you some clothing so you can do that. But until we actually read the teachings from whoever your religious and spiritual advisor are, until we read those and act on those, nothing is ever going to change for the better. Thank you all very much for having me.
I want to thank John Morgan for